After the Leafs started the season 2-0 and Auston Matthews scored 6 goals through the first 2 games, on pace for 246 this year, the last thing that I expected to see was headlines about Auston Matthews' free agency, breaking down his comments about the media, and whether or not Toronto is full of fake news. Welcome back to Third Man In. I'm Zack Phillips, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing the recent comments made by Auston Matthews in regards to some of the things that went on during his free agency period, whether it was leading up to him becoming a free agent or it actually was during this summer where he was going through contract negotiations, not going through contract negotiations, speculation that was out there, and some of the crazy things that were thrown around. Auston Matthews addresses it all. So, before I get into that, I want to remind people this is a new channel. We're starting this up and trying to grow it back to where we had the old channel. So if you're here right now and you remember me from before, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you get notified every time we go live here on the channel or a new video just like this one drops. You're not going to want to miss anything that's going on. We'll be doing post-game live streams, reacting to games, taking calls, all that kind of stuff, as well as reacting to news just like this, injuries, trade rumors, all of that good stuff right here on Third Man In. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're new to the channel, new to me, new to my videos, hit that subscribe button anyways. I'm sure you're going to like the content here today. You want to see more of this, find out all the things going on around the NHL, so make sure to hit subscribe. But let's get into it, and first and foremost, we're going to start with the interview with Mike Zeisberger of NHL.com that Auston Matthews did, the one-on-one sit-down where he's talking about it. We'll kind of go through some of the different quotes he said, break down some of the stuff that happened, because I think the whole thing was pretty interesting from start to finish. I was more just surprised at the timing of it. I mean, the guy's got 6 goals through 2 games. He's making NHL history here with becoming the 5th player to go back-to-back hat tricks to start a season. And yet we're talking about his summer contract negotiations somehow. Like, this is the most Toronto thing ever. And yet in all of this, it just ties together with the fact that he signed here, he loves it here, and he wants to be here, and he's going to deal with all of this anyways. So I thought some of this was pretty interesting and pretty cool to kind of read about. But, I mean, Auston Matthews interviewed, and he kind of says he always wanted to remain with the Toronto Maple Leafs despite hearing doubters question his sincerity, and he said, "I love it here. I kept saying it over and over again whenever I was asked about my future. I'm not sure why some people didn't believe me." Then he goes out this summer and signs 4 by $13.25 million contract. Now, I will say this. I personally never doubted the fact that he wanted to be here in regards to the statements that were made when he's talking to the media or being asked about signing here, whether he would like to stay, whatever. My concern with it, and if you followed on the other channel, you would have seen the videos that I had put out there about, like, just get the deal done. It's not about whether or not you want to stay here. I believed that he wanted to stay here. You look at this type of player, you look at his personality, what his character is, how he kind of handles himself. It seems like he loves being in the market like this. It's not like he's seeking attention or anything like that, but he's a player who performs and thrives, in the spotlight. He performs well in the spotlight, and what bigger spotlight in professional hockey are you going to get than Toronto? I mean, yes, there are bigger physical markets out there. New York, LA, maybe even Chicago can push up close to it, Montreal. But in terms of actual hockey and the level of professional hockey, this is the biggest fishbowl there is in the NHL. This is where it is at. This is where you want to be. This is where you're going to get the most endorsements, the most eyes, the most lifestyle privileges in professional hockey is probably here in Toronto, because this is where you are the king of the city. You go to LA, guess what you're competing with? Movie stars, actresses, rappers, singers, all that kind of stuff. Not here in Toronto. Auston Matthews is the king of this city. There is no one higher on the totem pole right now in Toronto than Auston Matthews. He deserves it because he is the best player on the Maple Leafs, and genuinely, I've been saying this from the beginning, and I still believe this. If he brings any level of success to this team in the form of Stanley Cup final, Stanley Cup trophy. That man will be immortalized. You thought Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry were on the top for, obviously, DeRozan helping get there. He was even recognized for helping them win, being a piece along the way that obviously wasn't even there for the final. Auston Matthews will be God in the city of Toronto. Whether you believe in that stuff or not, he will be the top of the top. There will be no one who could touch that man in this city. I think he kind of recognizes that, sees the potential of this team, sees how good they are, and got it done. I just wanted the deal to get done. There was so much noise, so much pressure around the situation, and it kind of just percolated outside of that. It no longer became about Auston Matthews signing this contract, and it was about, how does this affect Nylander? Will Marner want to come back? Can other players sign? What can you do in free agency? For me, I'm sitting there going, this guy's a leader. He's supposed to be the driving factor of this team. Get your deal done and just put all this to rest. He does that. 4x13.25, locks himself up until he's 31 years old, through 12 years of his career, right through the prime of his career. He's going to be a Maple Leaf. This is perfect. And I mean, according to Tree Living, it was Matthews who reached out to the Maple Leafs later in the summer, and his message to the Leafs was, let's do this. According to Matthews' agent here, he said Auston just decided the time was right. There was no urgency. It was always his desire to return. It's where he wants to be. So, I mean, you're kind of hearing from the Leafs GM said, Matthews reached out to us. Obviously, Brad Treliving's not an idiot. He's sitting there saying, we got to sign Auston Matthews, and he's ready to sign Auston Matthews. But at the same time, you can't force the guy's hand to sign the paper. So it's whether or not he wants to, and it's when he's ready. I'm certain at some point there was an offer extended to Matthews and kind of said, hey, this is where we're thinking. You let us know. Matthews reached out to the Leafs and said, let's get this thing done. That's that part of it, whether or not he wanted to be here. This is the part that I found interesting and I think might have been glossed over a little bit in all of this. And I found it pretty funny because we've known Matthews now to be a player who has some type of personality. He's willing to do things. We saw it with Steve Simmons when Matthews' public health records were essentially put out there for everyone to know by Steve Simmons, and he took shots at him up on the stand like he just did not care. We've seen him trolling people when he said that the Leafs' biggest rival was, yes, the Arizona Coyotes, and then he goes out and says this in the article. It was my mindset to come back all along. I felt I've been pretty clear about that. I really enjoy playing here, and I love the core guys I've been playing with going back to my early days. The way the staff treats us is amazing. I've kind of repeated these things. They're all true, and it means a lot to me to be here. So when I see stuff like some of the speculation this summer, I get a pretty good chuckle out of it because it's just nonsense, to be honest with you. He goes on to continue to say, look, if you didn't hear it from me, you didn't hear it from my family, and you didn't hear it from my agent, then what are we talking about here? It's just lies, just like people making stuff up. At this point, I find it comedic more than anything. It didn't really bother me at all. I just found it funny because there are so many so-called experts out there who feel they have scoops. People go on social media and say they hear things, but if they didn't hear it from me, my family, or my agent, where did you hear it from, and who exactly is your credible source? The amount of people out there that I see nonstop going on and on and on about Auston Matthews is leaving Toronto, he's not staying there, blah, blah, blah. Former players, media personalities, every single one of them got a giant middle finger sent right their way from Auston Matthews from this, calling out their credibility, calling out essentially their character for saying this, saying they're lying, making stuff up, and going out in the media. Look, you can speculate all you want, but many of these people had said, I've heard this, I've heard that. Well, guess what? You didn't hear shit, and Auston Matthews just came out and told the entire world that your credibility is none. So I got to give kudos to Auston Matthews for doing this because this guy is on top of the world right now. 6 goals through 2 games, and he comes out and just says, F you, I didn't say that, my family didn't say that, my agent didn't say that, you are making stuff up, and it's pretty funny to me. Not even easy saying I'm bothered by it. He's sitting there saying, you are basically being a clown show going out there on social media and saying these things for the sake of clicks. So I found that pretty funny. Kudos to Auston Matthews. But I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I think all we can take from this is you legitimately have no idea until things happen anymore. On this channel, we'll continue to sit here and talk about things that are going on, whether or not I believe these could happen, if they make sense to happen, whatever. I'm not a person who gets some of these inside scoops. I don't know until a lot of it becomes public. And then for us here on Third Man In, it's just reactionary. What happened? What's going to happen? Does this even seem likely to happen? That is what I will be doing. But you kind of look around and you see some of these other people. The NHL, unfortunately, over time has just become less and less about having these insiders once Bobby Mack left and more about people with some type of personal opinion. I'm someone with a personal opinion. I have a YouTube channel to give my personal opinion. I can't necessarily sit here and dump on other people for having personal opinions, but what I will say is if your job is to report facts, leave the opinion out of it. I don't want to hear about whether or not you feel like this should happen or this could happen, blah, blah, blah. Did you hear this or did you not hear this? Be very clear with the audience about what you did and did not hear. Otherwise, we end up in situations like this where the star player of a team, probably one of the biggest faces in the NHL right now in terms of at least personality-wise, is coming out and saying, you guys made stuff up about me for 2 years now, and I just proved you all wrong because I signed 4 years by 13.25 right here in Toronto. In the city I love playing in, with the team I love playing on, with the teammates I love playing with. So, double bird to everyone out there, essentially, is what Auston Matthews did. I love this move by him. I'm happy to see this article come out, especially in this timing, because his name is hot in the press right now. At the top of everything, 6 goals through 2 games, on pace for 246 goals this year, and he comes out and makes waves by saying, I always wanted to be here. And those media folks out there making things up about me going elsewhere, wrong. Wasn't going nowhere. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video here today. If you did enjoy the content, please make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't want to miss anything coming out here on this channel, whether it's live streams or videos just like this one. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the entire thing. Call out those media people that you saw out there reporting fictional Fantasyland things. I want to see them all in the comments. I want to see your thoughts on Auston Matthews re-signing. And I want to see your predictions for how many goals Auston Matthews scores this season. Look forward to reading all those comments. And as always, keep believing.